Welcome to Filmcast Without a Cause. I'm your co-host, Jacob Rosdale, and with me as always is the bandit to my snowman, Patrick Boberg. 10-12, good buddy. We got some Kojaks with Kodaks. Yeehaw! How you doing, buddy?
Bang, bang, shoot, shoot.
All right. Plenty to get to this week, so let's dive right in. Pat, you shared a link on your Facebook page that got me thinking, and that's always dangerous. Care to...
Yes, sure, I'll just go right to it since you initially kind of trashed it. It's like, ooh, it's getting trendy. But what we're talking about is the Zombieland writers. They have come up with their next movie outside of the Zombieland world that follows a failed robot revolution. And the film is, the script is called Epsilon at the moment. And according to IO9, they put it in quotes that it's ambitious. So basically, in the film, the robot rebellion, say, kind of like Skynet or something, or maybe even those who know about it, the Animatrix, fails, and to retreat, they go to space. And they kind of have like a lab rat of humans where they try to brainwash them to infiltrate the humans on Earth.
That does sound cool, and especially if it's by the Zombieland people in a film I liked. I think you liked as well, right?
Oh, definitely, yeah.
But I responded on Facebook very snarkily, just saying robots are the new zombies. And I didn't offer any explanation to that. I was just kind of a...
You were just Mr. Cool on the internet. That's all it was.
Yeah, and I hate being that guy. But and I think part of it was just because it was from the Zombieland writers. And I associate Zombieland with being one of those trend films that kind of hit the zombie trend right at its peak. And, now there's less excitement, I think, for a sequel than there was like 2 years ago, just because I think people are getting a little zombied out. But it got me thinking that maybe we are on the verge of a robot trend, and I'm not a trend prognosticator like Rashida Jones was in Celeste and Jesse Forever. So I'm really just making this stuff up.
Yes, I would say we're at the very beginning of a robot trend if you look at the list of movies that are coming out, because you listed out Robot and Frank. I mean, yeah, and Robopocalypse is kind of like the, oh my gosh, this sounds amazing coming along.
That's the Steven Spielberg adaptation of a popular book, I believe.
Yeah, and there's another book that's coming out, maybe by the same guy, or someone else, that's called like How to Survive a Robot Apocalypse. And it's based on the fact that robots are not the Terminator robots you think of. They're much more, robots will destroy you in a heartbeat just based on if you're useful or not. So, I don't know, very interesting.
Yeah, and I looked it up. There's a couple more films. Roland Emmerich has a film called Singularity coming out in 2013. There's the RoboCop remake, so technically he's a cyborg. And J.J. Abrams just announced he was doing a show about a robot and a cop who are buddies. That reminded me. I don't think it has a title. We'll just call it Mac and Cheese for now.
From Friends?
For Friends. The Matt LeBlanc. Maybe they can get Matt LeBlanc. He can't be making episodes, every week of the year, right? They should. I would watch that. But robots and vampires and zombies, they've been popular for years, so it might not be fair to say that right now robots are having a moment, but it might be like a short-lived burst of films that we get like last year. Aliens were big.
Yeah, well, if you look at Transformers, and then there's Pacific Rim that's coming out here, and Avatar even had miniature Gundams in it. There's definitely a swell of robots in the zeitgeist, so to speak.
Yeah, why robots now? Do you have any theories?
Maybe the extraterrestrial is getting a little old, and the supernatural realm is getting a little old, and you can only put so many people on alien planets for so long that maybe that's just the natural progression of finding something that's new, put that in quotes, and still kind of cool.
I think a lot of it, especially thinking about how I think they're approaching RoboCop, and just the sound of some of these other shows, they seem to be afraid of the singularity, which is when artificial intelligence becomes greater than human intelligence or something like that. That's kind of the dumbed down version. But I think the technology's presence in our lives is a good metaphor. I mean, robots are a good metaphor for that. So I don't know. I love robots. Robots are cool. I mean, they're mechanical. They're often driven by logic, built to destroy.
So you would put yourself in the Hugh Jackman world where you would be willing to give up your career and pilot a robot to do the career for you.
I would, and I totally forgot about Real Steel. Yeah, robots, they are of the moment.
We're also forgetting Surrogates from a year or two ago, which was actually a pretty decent film.
Yeah, Surrogates was okay.
I'm not calling it amazing. I'm just saying it was a okay 80 minutes, and it was only 80 minutes.
Switching on to humanoid flesh machines. Let's not call her a flesh machine. The next story I had in the rundown was that Adele was confirmed for the Skyfall theme. I don't know if this is as big of news to you, Pat, as it is to me, but I love the Bond theme. So, like, even more so than whatever director is attached or who the villain's going to be, I kind of get excited about who's going to sing the opening Bond credit theme. And sometimes those are the best things about a Bond movie because they always have a strong visual concept, and besides Casino Royale, there's usually a pretty interesting mixture of guns and naked women. It's all very id. I'm a fan of the Bond themes. How about you, Pat?
I guess I've never been like a huge crazy person about them, but every once in a while there seems to be a cool one out there. Didn't Garbage do one year?
Yes.
Or was I wrong? Did they just do a song in The World's Not Enough?
No, they did the Bond theme, and that's actually I had it down as one of my favorite Bond themes.
See, I know a little bit about James Bond here and there.
The World Is Not Enough theme is really cool because it has that. It's a kind of a cool garbage track. It's got that industrial rock, but it also has the '60s style horns in it, and Shirley Manson just wails in that. And that's a good one. And I think Adele will be a great fit. I mean, I like it. I think everyone kind of likes Adele.
She's definitely got some pipes, so I'd say it's a good fit for, the over-the-top Bond theme. So you can guarantee she'll sing at the highest register she's possibly got and hold a note for a good 15 seconds.
Yeah, I was actually telling my brother months ago that I hope Adele is the singer for the new Bond theme because I heard that song, Set Fire to the Rain. And I'm like, that sounds like a Bond theme. It has that cool 60s soul type groove to it. So I'm really excited about that.
Just quickly hitting the internet here, it looks like Jack White did Quantum of Solace. Is that true?
Yeah, Jack White and Alicia Keys did it together, Another Way to Die. Yeah, that's another one that I think the song, but again, I'm a Jack White fan, is better than the movie that followed it. With this announcement of Adele singing a Bond theme, Pat, I wanted to know if there was anyone you would want to see record a Bond theme yet. Who would you like to see come out after that big explosion at the beginning?
Well, looking at these past couple here with Jack White and Garbage, it gives me a little hope that maybe my less conventional choices would make it. But first I got to hit this seems like something that could happen and would be cool. First off, this might be unconventional, but it's just too cool to pass up. I thought Iggy Pop. I am a huge fan of Iggy Pop and the Stooges. And just his voice just seems like, something that would be totally cool with Bond. Another one would be Dave Grohl with or without the Foo Fighters. I think they could do it justice in the Arcade Fire. Are there any groups out there that you think that are obvious choices?
No, well, I think, Arcade Fire and Dave Grohl, those are awesome choices. They seem to alternate guys in more than they used to, so I think those are actually quite likely. You mentioned Iggy Pop, and that's pretty unlikely, but this one's...
David Bowie?
I was going to say David Bowie.
Yep, of course.
I think he would do a great job. He's semi-retired, though, or he is retired, but I think he's always been on my list to do a Bond theme. And I think this one's a lot more likely. And I'm not a huge fan or anything, but I think a Lady Gaga Bond theme would be interesting just because I like it when the singer is integrated into the opening credits as well. And she is obviously a very theatrical singer. So the idea that they could do something really out there and wacky, maybe they could rely less on CGI and do like a practical effects opening title sequence with Lady Gaga. I think that would be pretty cool.
Yeah, looking at female singers, I was also thinking maybe a possible choice to be Florence and the Machine or No Doubt, but I don't think No Doubt would do it. But those are just a couple ideas. Do you have any completely unrealistic choices?
Bowie's pretty unrealistic, and
well, I mean, like things. I mean, there's the realm of chance that sometime, even in if you had to go back in time to force them to do it, it's a possibility. But it's the things that they would never choose. The producer would say, "Oh, there's no way we're doing." Madness or something like that.
Yeah, I don't think there's going to be a Tom York Bond theme at any point.
Well, I was just saying that because I put down a couple people that I really like. Like a couple of my favorite singers/songwriters are like Eddie Vedder from Pearl Jam. That's not out of the realm of possibility, but Paul Westerberg from The Replacements, not going to happen. They want someone with some cachet. Huey Lewis, because he's just too damn cool. And I know if AJ, our good buddy AJ's listening, he supports that full-heartedly. And just because I thought they did so well with Hannah, I put the Chemical Brothers on my list.
And we're going to close out the news section of our show with a story that's just kind of out there, just kind of crazy. Did you hear about this, Pat? This London theater started employing quote-unquote ninjas to approach rude moviegoers during the film. And they're not really ninjas. They're not, like, trained in martial arts or anything, but they're just people in black body socks who sit in the back of the theater. And these are volunteers who do this because they, as a trade-off, they get to see movies for free. In exchange, they get to bring justice to people who are talking on their phone or kicking the seat in front of them, things like that. Pat, do you want to live in a world with movie ninjas?
Yes, because I am one of the few people, well, not one of the few, but I'm one of the proud people who will yell at someone in the middle of a film to shut up. And I have cursed at people to shut up. I have, turned around and yelled at little kids. I'm okay with the ninjas. I read a couple things about people saying it's a little over the top and a little nutty, because the picture that you'll probably see if you Google it or you check the link that we put in this podcast, it's like a person who's in all black, stretch suit with their hands over two girls' mouths. And I don't know, that's probably just, a promotional picture, but I'm okay with it because I don't want to go pay to see a film and hear someone else talk the whole time.
I think my fear is that it might be a little distracting the first couple of times it happens, but I always wish that a usher or whatever, I know they don't get paid enough to do it, but would stand and watch the movie and, take care of troublemakers anyway. And the fact that they're wearing all black, maybe that would be less distracting. I would volunteer to do this even. I don't know if I'd want to wear the black uniform, but if I was given free chance to see movies for free, and all I had to do was, be rude or be rude to rude people. Yeah, that sounds like fun.
Well, even if that the ninja was just somebody who was there to say, be an usher in the back corner, volunteer to see a movie for free, and just go over and grab someone and say, hey, you're out of here. I think that would get the message across and not distract everyone.
But we didn't have to worry about that this week, did we, Pat?
No, because as I was looking to see the times for Arbitrage, I discovered that it's also streaming online. Very interesting, the new world of film. I don't know about you, Jacob, but I streamed it online for the experience and the experiment.
Well, let's get right into it. Our review of Arbitrage.
A dedicated businessman, a family man, a man I am very lucky to call my mentor and my father.
World events all revolve around 5 things. MONEY.
Why sell our company? We make a great return.
How much money do we need? Do you want to be the richest guy in the cemetery?
In the new thriller Arbitrage, Richard Gere plays a successful banker whose decisions in his business and personal lives may cost him everything.
There's a $400 million hole here.
That's ridiculous.
You're looking at 1,000 years jail time. What am I supposed to do?
Yeah.
There's a Detective Breyer here to see you.
The recent economic crisis has had an impact on the movies, and I'm not just talking about the drop in attendance numbers, but instead the growth of the financial thriller as a popular genre. Along with the dozens of documentaries made trying to track the cause of the crisis, dramas like Too Big to Fail and last year's sleeper hit Margin Call have attempted to transform this serious real-life situation into entertainment. Director Nicholas Jalecki's debut film Arbitrage is less concerned with real-life villains, and it's designed more for entertainment value. Unlike the other films I've listed, I think Jalecki goes out of his way to make Gere's slick businessman character likable, and he even, heaven forbid, gets the audience to root for him. Pat, did you find yourself like me hoping Gere would get away scot-free? Or were you hoping for some comeuppance to come his way?
Well, I think if you're going to make a film where the villain is the main character, you have to make people care about it. Otherwise, it's unwatchable. And I wouldn't go as far to say it's unwatchable, but I did not want him to get away scot-free because he seemed just like a bad guy. There didn't seem to be anything about him that was redeemable, and they didn't even set him up to be some sort of genius that was going to, make it out in the end. It just seemed like he was ho-humming his way through or sloppily making his way through it. And I didn't really understand what would be the redeeming character point in this character. It would make you want to root for him to make it out scot-free. It almost seems like if you're going to do that, you need to go in the gangster style where the guy is just so bad and he's surrounded by other bad people. But no one else in this film was apparently a bad person. So it was a failure, in my opinion. It sounds like you are on the other side.
Yeah, and actually I'm trying to avoid talking about the specific bad things he does. Because I think that's what makes the film interesting. I went in pretty blind, so each bad thing that happens was a surprise or a twist to me. I wrote that setup asking if you were rooting for him, and then And I was rooting for him throughout. And then I had my notes down, and then I went to read other reviews, and I found that this idea about rooting for the character came up a lot. Ebert wrote about it. Entertainment Weekly's Owen Gleiberman also touched on it. I think you have a point that because it's the main character, we as audiences are programmed to want to root for someone if we see them the most. But you were talking about how you didn't think he was that smart or that likable. I actually did find his motivations maybe not justified, but I believed everything he did. And I did think he was very smart, especially in the way he handled something that happens about half an hour into the film, which I thought was a real surprise to me. I actually did believe him as a family man. I think, besides how he treats his wife, I think he did have the best intentions for his children. And I think a lot of the decisions he made, I've hinted enough that there are shady business deals involved. I will say I think he did those because he found himself in a bad position and he wanted to take care of his family.
Well, it just seemed that from the very beginning where he comes home from this business venture and he's having a family dinner and he gives this little, speech about family and how important it is. And his daughter, Britt Marling, says, what's that all about? Like, she's not buying it, that he really cares that much about the family and he's, ready to give up the business. She doesn't buy it. And his wife doesn't seem to understand what's going on. So right away, it doesn't make much sense. And then when they move into the next part where he's dealing with another person who's in on his bad business deals or whatever, it seems like he's kind of like, crying in his beer over, please don't do what you're going to do or anything like that. It just doesn't make him out to be that, I don't know, that shrewd of a billionaire. And the whole idea that this man is a billionaire and having, financial trouble, I don't understand either. So...
Well, they explained how he got himself into he made a bad business decision, and he's kind of spinning his tricks around trying to recoup some of those losses. And I was going to say I've never been much of a Richard Gere fan, actually, but I think he was well cast here. He has this handsome silver foxness to him that I think he's aged really well. In other roles, he never struck me as smart, but in this role, I did believe that the gears were always working in the back of his mind. Some resolutions... Whoa.
Oh,
no,
you said gears.
Oh my gosh. I didn't even... But I don't know. I thought this was a pretty slick thriller. I mean, it's not high art or anything, but I thought the plot kept moving.
Well, I think it was crafted very well in a story-wise, like where it was going and the police, and you can tell everyone's motivations around him, but I just didn't feel that the main character was someone that I wanted to watch for the whole runtime. And by the end, it seemed like he would have come up with these epiphanies that he would have had, or his business dealings much earlier. He would have strong-armed somebody much earlier, or maybe he would have paid somebody to make something go away.
Well, I did mention earlier that this is the work of a first-time writer-director, Nicholas Jalecki, and I think it was crafted pretty well for the most part. There were a few first-director quirks that irked at me a little bit. Mirrors were used as a visual metaphor a little often because he has a double life, so of course there will always be a mirror here or there. And there were a couple weird visual decisions that didn't quite get where he was going. There was a weird dissolve on Richard Gere's face at one point, maybe to show the passage of time, but it just looked show-offy to me. What do you think about the rest of the cast? You said that you sympathize with the characters, but do you think the actors did a good job?
Yeah, I think Britt Marling was okay. I don't really know if she was, as great as she's been in other things. Like I liked her a lot in Another Earth, but the police, the main detective who's after him the whole movie, help me right here. I can't remember his name.
Tim Roth.
Yeah, well, Tim Roth. I thought that he was pretty good, and he's kind of, I guess, the representing, the normal person who's angry at all these billionaires for getting away with their terrible business dealings, talking about Tyco or Enron, business people who just get away with it or maybe die right before they're going to see justice. So I kind of could identify with them, which maybe they're hoping if you don't identify with the main character, you do identify with someone who's after him. So that would be the reason he's there. But
yeah, I like Tim Roth a lot as well. He had a weird accent going on, though. And maybe
he went a little too, from the boroughs.
And as you mentioned, we both watched this on demand. So even if it's not playing at a theater near you, you could check it out on YouTube or Amazon. I actually would recommend it. Pat, you seem to see maybe wait for DVD?
Yeah, I don't know if I'd pay to see it in the theater, but I wouldn't want to do this again because if I'm in the movie theater, there's no distractions. If I'm at home, my wife will say, hey, can you help me with this? Or, can you check on this for me? Or tell me what the next ingredient in dinner is. And that's not how I like to watch films.
Yeah, and I think it may have affected my enjoyment of the film too, because I ended up having to watch it in 3 chunks because just how life works. So I see no harm in giving the on-demand a try if you are free from distractions. I apologize to our audience if I forced Pat to be vaguer than he would have liked in his descriptions, because I try and keep our reviews spoiler-free. And I will add that Arbitrage is rated R for language, brief violent images, and drug use. When we come back, we will start off our FWOAC Franchise Flashback. That's the week of September 18th. Lots of stuff. The Baby Makers.
Broken Lizard film, or quasi-Broken Lizard film. It's Jay Shonda Kasari.
Also, the Avengers of Old British Actors, as the AV Club dubbed it. The Best Exotic Marigold Hotel. Cabin in the Woods, one of my favorite movies of this year. Pat, you need to check out Cabin in the Woods.
I will. That is the must on this list that I see. That and Katy Perry, Part of Me.
Yes. Katy Perry, Part of Me is also coming out. Chico and Rita, which was nominated for an Academy Award in the Best Animated Feature category. And the Dodecapentathlon, which is a Duplass Brothers film. Cabin in the Woods, I don't want to overhype it because it has the danger of being an overhyped film. But I'd say even if you're avoiding it because you don't like horror films, I'm not talking about you personally, Pat, but if there's a listener out there who's like, oh, I don't like the gore, it's more than just a horror film. It's quite humorous and just very entertaining. It would be a great Halloween rental if you can wait that long, which I don't recommend waiting that long. But if you have a party...
Is it okay to watch at midnight, or will it keep me up all night?
It will not keep you up all night. Unless you get this caffeine buzz that I got from it, and then you'll just be buzzing around, wanting to talk to people about how awesome it is. But no, it won't. It won't give you nightmares, Pat. It's okay.
Okay, good. Thank you. Whew. Wipe the sweat off my brow.
Looking at the list of movies you've watched this week, though, I see a trauma film in there. Did that give you nightmares?
No, not exactly. if anything, the first 40 minutes, my friend Brian sent me Class of Nukem High. He said, you have to check this out. It's on Netflix because he's a big trauma fan. And it's kind of garbage, but it was fun. It's about a high school where there's a nuclear reactor built like within a quarter mile behind it. They get exposed to radiation and people start killing each other and whatnot. It's pretty ridiculous. And of course, being an 80s drama, it's like low rent, extremely low rent John Carpenter, where all the limbs falling off and everything is over the top. But the only reason I bring it up is because for those people who are interested and have never wanted to pay any money for a trauma film, Troma is actually putting the majority of their entire catalog on YouTube to watch.
Oh wow!
Any film.
Oh wow! And I'm someone who has not seen a lot of Troma films, but I've been curious.
I have not seen many, but isn't the Toxic Avenger a Troma film?
The Toxic Avenger, yes. There's like 4 or 5 of those films, but that's the one I've seen. Actually.
Yeah, so that was the one that you said you'd like to see remade. So I just thought I'd bring it up and people could play with it out there.
Yeah.
Another thing that I saw this week of a Mexican, no, it's not, I don't know if it's Mexican, but a Latin film, Sin Nombre, which is about a guy, a bunch of people trying to make it to America, riding a train and then crossing the Rio Grande. But one of the characters is on the run from a gang where something happens. I can't tell you too much, but I had been putting it off forever, and that poster on the little image on Netflix has been staring me in the face for too long, so I finally watched it, and it is definitely worth a check out. Have you seen it, Jacob?
No, it's one that, like you, it's been sitting in my Netflix queue since it probably came out as a new release.
Yeah, it's no City of God, but it is definitely something different and cool to see. And last, I checked out The Devil's Double, which... For those who don't know, it's a film where an actor plays 2 characters, which sometimes bombs and sometimes rises. But if anything, Dominic Cooper, who plays Uday Hussein and Latif Yahia, 2 Iraqis, one is the son of Saddam Hussein, and the other is his double. Imagine that. And it is a mind trip because he just goes completely over the top with Uday Hussein, and then Latif is just so down to earth. And being his double, he kind of calls Uday Hussein on all of it. But the rest of the film is not very good, but you could definitely check it out, at least for Dominic Cooper. For those who've been following along, Dominic was in our pilot episode for Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter.
He's an actor I like quite a bit, and I've also heard mixed things about it. So moving on to things that I've seen this week, I want to get one thing out of the way quick. It's a plug, more or less, for a film my friends have made. It's called Wagon Masters, and it's about the death of the American station wagon, as well as the fans or the people who love station wagons. And I got to see a screening of that this weekend, and it's going to be doing some festival rounds in the coming months. And that
is definitely one of the travesties of the 1990s.
The co-directors, Chris Zalewski and Sam Smart, are friends of mine, so I actually hate them because I think their movie is so good. And
well, good. I'll check it out.
Yeah, definitely. I wish we'll put the link up on their website. And in preparation for our review of Dark Star, it kind of got me in a spaced out state of mind. So I checked out some films I hadn't seen in a while, including 2001: A Space Odyssey, which is still the film I remembered it being. It hasn't changed as I've gotten older. It's still paced the way it is, but still the effects hold up great, and I do appreciate the story more now than when I first saw it back in high school, but it's still kind of a chore to watch, if I'm to be honest, but I appreciate the craft and everything about it, so don't, if you're a Kubrick fanboy, don't threaten my death or anything. And I saw Sunshine, the 2007 film by Danny Boyle, which I saw in the theater back in 2007, and liked a lot, but acknowledged that it had third act problems. And have you seen Sunshine?
No, I was going to ask if it's a film I should pop up to close to the top of my list.
Yes. Even if the third act still has problems, rewatching it. But on the rewatch, part of it's forgivable. You know what's coming, so you prepare yourself for it. But in the third act, the style of it just goes a little over the top. He does weird things with mirrors in the camera. And there's no way I thought for a while that, they should, because he's expressed disappointment with how the film ends as well. So I'm like, maybe there's hope that he will go back and recut it or something. But then when I heard how he shot it, I'm like, there's no way that they can fix that. But it's 2/3 and a great, awesome movie, and then 1/3 it just gets kind of weird at the end. Is all I'll say. But definitely, it's an almost classic, and definitely worth checking out. But talking about, well, I wouldn't call our next film a almost classic, but it helped bring to life a certain classic that would be Alien. Let's start the FWOAC Franchise Flashback with Dark Star.
It is the future. Mankind has conquered the stars. He moves out to the endless interstellar reaches of the universe.
Near the end of their 20-year mission to clear unstable stars from distant solar systems, the starship Dark Star and its crew travel through an electrometeor shower that causes their ship to malfunction and endanger their mission.
Hello, Bob. Are you with me?
I wish I had more time.
Why don't you have more time?
Because I must detonate.
Roughly 33 years ago, Ridley Scott and company informed us that in space, no one can hear you scream, with the groundbreaking space horror film Alien, a film that I espoused my love for many times on this show. But the genesis for that film came years before its release with a student film titled Dark Star, written and co-starring Alien scribe Dan O'Banion and directed by none other than John Carpenter. Stretched to reach a more feature-length 83 minutes, Dark Star is not a perfect film, but it does have its moments. Luckily for the FWOAC crowd, Jacob is our resident film student, and I believe watched Dark Star with a few filmmaking peers. So from the collective mind of filmmakers in training, what was the consensus? Is Dark Star a worthy addition to Alien lore?
First, a little disclaimer to explain it. I did not watch it with peers so much as I snuck into a screening with kids nearly 10 years younger than me.
Well, there we go. I'm sorry.
But that's okay. And these were film students. They were all film students. And they snickered a lot at the poor effects. And they didn't laugh as much as the jokes. And I was feeling like the old man being like, oh, come on, you have to appreciate that these Southern California students had probably a little more to work with than these kids did, but they made a lot, for a student film, it's really quite impressive.
Agreed. Definitely agreed.
It's a fun time. You have to take it with a big grain of salt, though, to appreciate it.
Absolutely. There's a weird mix of sci-fi and weird, just flat out weird comedy going on in this. But it's definitely something impressive. Do you think that, do you see where Dan O'Bannon and eventually Ridley Scott got in the picture and came up with Alien?
Yeah, it's a bit of a stretch to compare this film with the production values, obviously, to what Ridley Scott and H.R. Geiger did with Alien, but it's definitely fun to think about how, like, there's a balloon-like alien in this movie, and it gets loose in the ship, and it gets chased with a broom because it's a comedy. It's fun to think of it as kind of the half-brother to the xenomorph and aliens because they share a parent in a way. But it's so out there in tone. I feel a little guilty about forcing you to watch it because it's so tangential to Alien. There's also a super smart computer, but those are the only real comparisons I found.
Yeah, I would say that that I was okay with the Alien only because knowing that, at this point, sometimes when I don't know anything about a film and it's so down in the the murk as this film is, you have to know somebody to hear about it. That I was okay with the nonsensical alien chasing, and to me that just reeked of the part that they wrote in to stretch it out. So, I mean, everything else was about the ship, and then all of a sudden here's this beach ball alien that they're running around, and the guy nearly dies several times, and completely, grade 1 level humor, falling over and getting hit in the face, and, dust clouds hitting you and whatnot. But I'd say the things that make you think, like the bomb that becomes sentient and all this stuff, and whatever, I'm not going to reveal it, but whatever happened to the commander of the ship and what happens because of that, that's all really interesting stuff, and I'd almost see a movie based on those thoughts alone.
Yeah, it kind of has the truckers from space aspect that Aliens has as well, because they're just everyman working dudes doing this. They're blowing up stars, but they treat it just like picking up a load of garbage or whatever. They're a little goofier than the Alien bunch, but that was a similar aspect, I thought, to the franchise we're going to be talking about in the next few weeks.
Yeah, so thinking about that, where do you see this in the lore of the franchise? Do you think it fits right in? Do you think it's like you said, you felt guilty about me seeing it? What are your thoughts?
You have to meet things at their own level at some points, and I didn't really laugh a lot at this movie. It is a comedy. And nor was I really on the edge of my seat either during the dramatic parts. I will say the last third of the movie I really liked.
Agreed. That is definitely the best part.
And we won't get too spoilery anyway and reveal how it resolves itself. But a bomb gained sentience, and one of the crew members of the ship has to have a philosophical discussion with it to convince it not to blow up. That part is definitely worth watching. I actually watched both versions that were on the DVD I had.
Okay.
I watched, I saw the theatrical version with the kids, and then today, just to refresh myself, I watched the quote-unquote director's cut, which is supposedly done just a couple years ago, John Carpenter trying to cut it back to what the original version was. Though there's some debate that he left in that the alien was in the cut I saw.
Oh, interesting.
But he had cut out a lot of the computer stuff because he didn't like how the computer looked. And even the alien was added for the theatrical version. So it's a weird hybrid of the original student film and the theatrical cut. The director's cut is just setting up Dark Star, the chasing of the alien, and then the bomb stuff, which is kind of the best stuff in the movie. But you lose some of the interactions between the characters, and you lose the meteor storm that causes the bomb to gain sentience, which is really weird. Yeah, it just all of a sudden it gained awareness. It felt like a very lazy director's cut, if I'm going to be honest, because scenes would just cut. Like, I think they literally probably just took a quick time of the movie, and I don't like this part and this part, and just shoved them together. They didn't do a re-edit or anything. But I don't know which version I'd recommend, to be honest, because as long as you don't have to dedicate all your attention to it, I'd say both versions are kind of fun.
Interesting. Well, the funny thing about this to me is that it kind of fits right into the John Carpenter motif of, put upon by a bureaucracy or a government force and people who are doing things that they don't want to do. Like, these guys are out in space and they're kind of tired of their job and they all hate each other and they distrust their boss and they seem to distrust the guy who's now in charge, and they've all kind of lost their mind, which is something you see in, Escape from New York, and I haven't seen The Thing, but
oh, wow.
but also They Live.
If we start doing FWOAC filmmaker filmography flashbacks, John Carpenter has to go on the top of that list. And I really appreciate you bringing, because I really was struggling to think of how this fit into John Carpenter's like oeuvre as an auteurist. So yeah, I definitely see it more as O'Bannon's film than Carpenter's, but it's very interesting to think about that now.
Well, I would say as a major fan and huge proponent of Alien over any of the sequels, we'll get to that eventually, but I would say I'm okay with this being a distant cousin or a teaser or maybe something that happened 200 years before, Ripley and crew get to discover the xenomorphs. Maybe it's before Prometheus, who knows? But I dig it, and even if it's not somewhere in that universe, I like it, and I like it alone based on the music. I love the music in this. The theme, the silly, country rock that goes in and out. Check it out just for that alone.
Yeah, I can't quite recommend it as much as Pat, but if you're a fan of Alien, it's worth it for the curiosity factor alone.
Maybe something I should have said off the top, but I can't let it go without saying it, is that if you've ever tried to make a film, even if it's a short little funny film, you can see that something like this, with the means they probably had with them and the communication capabilities and money in the 70s and technology, it's still a really good student film. It's really impressive that they could put together something this good with this small a cast and some really good points, especially in the third act.
I can't agree with that more, Pat. That's why I wanted to chide all those film students who probably have yet to make a full film at all. Check out Dark Star if you want. It's rated G, and it's currently available on Blu-ray and DVD, in both its theatrical and that weird director's cut I talked about.
Stick around and find out what's coming to theaters. We'll be right back.
Coming up in theaters this week, after a couple of weeks where, Pat, we struggled to pick a film to review, now there's about a half dozen films that I would have gladly reviewed over the past couple of weeks, starting with Dredd.
3D, don't cut that out, please.
Yeah, Dredd 3D, starring Carl Urban. End of Watch, the cop thriller I've expressed some interest in. House at the End of the Street, a kind of thriller horror film starring Jennifer Lawrence. The Master, Paul Thomas Anderson's film, which is expanding wide after breaking records in 5 theaters, or whatever it did. It broke records in limited release anyway. Trouble with the Curve, a Clint Eastwood starring baseball movie. And in limited release, Perks of Being a Wallflower. What are we going to review, Pat? Is it Dredd?
If it was not for The Master, I think we could review anything on there and be happy. Maybe even Perks of Being a Wallflower, just because I've heard some things, and it has the writer of Jericho as the director / scribe. So, you laugh at that title and the people in it, but that's just an interesting mix. So, am I wrong in saying we're going to review The Master?
Yeah, we're gonna take on The Master. I mean, I think it's the top of our anticipated list.
Yeah, let's just say we're swimming out into the deep end, and we're hoping that we don't drown, because this is a heady film.
From what I've heard, yeah, it's gonna be it's a tough one to fully digest. So hopefully we'll have some sort of, I'm not even gonna be as pretentious enough to say insight on the film, but hopefully we'll have opinions develop of some sort.
Maybe we'll just have to see it every night, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, until the show comes out, just to make sure we get it correct.
Yeah, you can explain that to my wife. I'll probably be seeing Dredd. Even if we're not going to review it, I'll probably end up seeing Dredd. So maybe I'll mention it on the show next week.
Well, if anybody out there does go see the movie Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and wants to give us their complete analysis of the film, there are several ways you can tell us your thoughts on this film, on Dark Star, on Arbitrage, anything. If you think I was completely wrong and Richard Gere was amazing and your best friend and you were rooting for him the whole time, you can hit us up on Twitter at Filmcast WOAC. That's Filmcast WOAC. You can send us an email at filmcastwoac@gmail.com. And of course, there's the website, filmcastwithoutacause.com. Leave us your thoughts on Dark Star and join in on our franchise flashback, because we want some thoughts on this. We want to know what people think about Aliens 3, and of course, everyone's favorite, Alien Resurrection. Right, Jacob?
Is Alien available on streaming? Do you know?
I am not sure, but we will find out and we'll put a link either way on the podcast blog post.
Well, we'll be here, same FWOAC time, same FWOAC RSS feed, I guess. For Filmcast Without a Cause, I'm Jacob.
And I'm Patrick.
We'll talk to you later.
I don't think anyone's gonna tell us when to leave.
Yeah, good call, Garth. I'll bet we're just gonna sit here, and when they're finished, they'll fade to black.
I can't believe they did that.
I told ya.